standing on the corner in the middle of the night, begging down some people to see. Trying to book a ticket on the one-way ride out of this dirty street. Say, I don't know where you're going. I don't care. Got the real cars running from the street so fast, like jumping if you just slow down. There's killers on the rail, there ain't much chance of me trying to hitch a ride. If I had $1 on the 5 game, bitch, I could turn it into 5. If I had 5, I put the bullet train, and I ride it on down the line. I don't know where you're going. I don't care. I don't know where I'm going.
All right, good morning, St. John Valley and the rest of the world. Hope you're doing well. Today is Wednesday, June 3rd. This is Wake Up SJV. My name is Eric Werntgen. Thanks for joining us. Today's local featured artist is Travis Sear. And this is from Travis Sear Quarantines on YouTube. Check it out. Great stuff. Let me pause that. That was I Don't Care. Just some great stuff by him. He was originally recommended to me by, oh, there he is again, by Wake Up with Nico. Nicole Gendreau recommended that we check him out, and he is exceptional. And recent stuff. That last song right there was posted 1 week ago, only 9 views. So let's get the word out on local artists, please. Come on. Today's guest, joining us from over there in Madawaska, will be Mr. Wayne Anderson. He is the principal of Madawaska Middle High School. So we look forward to that. We've spoken to administrators here in District 27, beginning with Johnny K, Mr. John Coletta of Fine, Fun, Frolicking Friday fame. We've also visited with Mr. Robbie Netto, the principal at Fort Kent Elementary, and Mr. Steve Doucette, the Deuce, the DOS, the Dean of Students for Valley Rivers Middle School and Fort Kent Community High School. So we'll get a great conversation, we hope, with Mr. Wayne Anderson coming up at 7:30. Let's take our first look, folks, at the weather, whether you like it or not. Share my screen, boom. And here we go. A reminder, if you're watching here on stjohnvalley.live to and you want to chat with us, swing over to Facebook and go to the Channel 4 page where you can add comments and whatnot. I'm trying to determine if a watch party is more successful grabbing an audience in comparison to just the basic Facebook. I don't know who has the answer. Maybe our producer, Chaz Pelletier, he's got the answer to everything. Maybe he can tell us. Send us a message there, Chaz, if you're up and watching. Thank you to him once again for making this possible here as we go into, is this week 4 or 5 of the show? I can't remember. But we are into June, aren't we? So another stretch here, I guess, of Wake Up SJV. Here's the weather. As you can see, currently beautiful, 41 today, a high of 65, mostly sunny. We had rain in the forecast yesterday for tonight into tomorrow, and that looks like it has gone away. That could change in minutes, but for right now, we're good. We're good, folks. My first came within 5 minutes of the show. Anyway, mostly sunny, highs 65, light west wind. This is a beautiful day, just a beautiful day. Not too hot, not too cold, a little breeze. Thursday will be exceptional. Look at Thursday night. As I've said earlier in the week, maybe a good evening to sleep in a tent, sleep out under the stars. It's a low of 47. Friday, just a hint, just a 30% chance of showers. Otherwise, 76, beautiful. So a great week. You know, we need that rain. We need that rain for all your flowers in your gardens that you have planted, and just to keep the dirt and the dust down. So a beautiful week. We can go all the way down here. You can see we can go all the way into next Tuesday if you'd like, where a high of 68 is forecasted. Hello, Bianca Cooper. Hope you're doing well. A new mother. And quite frankly, you got to deal with Coop all day. So Coop in quarantine. Hope you're doing awesome, guys. Congratulations. So there is the weather. Let's get out of here. Going through the headlines this morning in the Bangor Daily. A couple things caught my eye. What caught yours, folks? I don't know if you've been there yet. But looking at the headlines, some good stories. First of all, the state of Maine now is in conversation, in discussions, in planning for alternate plans to the 14-day quarantine for out-of-state visitors. And that's due to the simple fact that Maine, I mean, it says vacation land on your license plate, doesn't it? They need the tourism. So, but it's got to be done safely. Excuse me. I did want to showcase my coffee mug here. Thank you to David Willett, a student of mine at Fort Kent Community High School, and his fine family for this great mug. I'll let you figure it out. Number two. So they are in discussions to lift the 14-day out-of-state quarantine for tourists coming into the state and put in some sort of layered testing that's quicker than that, so we can get a shot in the arm here to our economy. There are great options for in-state Mainers to hit hotels, to start opening up campgrounds and parks. Acadia now is limited opening. Baxter State Park now has limited options as you go. Everything's going to be slow, and you got to be safe and you got to be smart and use common sense. So anyway, that's a good article. Check that out. Another thing here for you education fans, and we'll talk to Mr. Wayne Anderson about this as well over there at the Madawaska School Department, coming up in 21 minutes from now, 7:30, middle of the hour. We'll visit with him, but there is no plan yet, according to the Bangor Daily, for Maine schools reopening next fall. We have a plan here, Bangor Daily. Check it out. It's called the 4 R's. We will go over that live with Mr. Anderson. We'll get his thoughts and opinions on the reintegration plan that has been put into place by Valley Unified Schools under the direction of Mr. Benjamin Serwa, the superintendent, and all the great players and people, including, I'm sure, Mr. Wayne Anderson had a lot of insight within this planning. We've went over this plan with Mr. Steve Doucette. He took us through it a little bit, and we look forward to Mr. Anderson's intake. Mr. Anderson's take. So a lot to be seen on that Bangor Daily page, and now it's free. You know, you used to have to I used to go incognito. I don't want to get myself arrested, but just to read it. But that's been lifted due to Corona, I guess. There is a June 3rd update. I would say the thoughts and prayers go out to the latest deaths as a result of the Corona virus. But yesterday, I'm number 3. Sorry, I'm going through this. Yesterday saw the largest single day jump in coronavirus related deaths, according to the Vanguard Daily News. Since April 23rd, there was 5. So thoughts and prayers out to those families as this virus continues its onslaught, for lack of a better phrase. We've already talked about the 14-day quarantine story. I like this story, and I would love to check out one of these shows. There, Bob Marley. I don't know if you've ever seen the comedian. If you haven't, check out his Corona Watch 2020 videos on Facebook. I've had the pleasure of seeing him live my freshman year at college. He is a Deering High School graduate, and he did a stand-up gig in our cafeteria down there at Westbrook College, which is now the UNE campus of Portland. But anyway, I just couldn't even eat my meal. I came in from basketball practice a little late, and he was already going. He grilled us a little bit as we walked in. It was 6'7", and my teammates about 6'5", so he made fun of us a little bit. And we sat down and we just couldn't eat. I got an ab workout, and he's one of the funniest individuals I've ever seen. But he is cranking out shows and socially distanced shows. Let me share my screen again. And I don't know why I choose to share and not share, but you'll see here. One of the first people to return to live performances this week will be Bob Marley. So main comedian Bob Marley will perform 10 shows at Jonathan's in Ogunquit. What a great area that is. Another college job I had was working at the Cliff House down there in Ogunquit, and I did weddings as a barback. We got some great cash. But anyway, down there in Jonathan's, June 3 through 7. So Sweet Caroline, that's coming up tonight. He'll then do 7 shows at the Morgan Hill Event Center in Herman. And then probably this would be my only shot. 2 shows at the Bangor Drive-In on June 17. So I don't know, maybe. And as he starts his shows in Ogunquit and Herman, you'll see here that it's 50 people or fewer. How's that going to look? You know, socially distanced shows. Hello to Lori Overlock over there in one of the most beautiful areas of all of Maine, Allagash. Hope you're doing well, and hope your daughter Caitlin is still jacking up threes. Anyway, so he's going to get it going. Bob Marley, I highly recommend checking out some of his shows. There's the Maine schools story. This is cool. And we're going to, I think, we'll check with Mr. Anderson, Mr. Wayne Anderson, coming up at 7:30. But there's a piece here about Maine high schools doing drive-in ceremonies for graduation. Here in the District 27, it'll be on the soccer field. I believe Madawaska's is drive-in, and I believe Wisdom is doing the same thing. But we will check in with Mr. Anderson at 7:30 about that. So anyway, there's some good stuff there on the Bangor Daily. I encourage you to check it out. I do have the feel-good story really is, and sorry, we're getting dizzy here, but let's click on the drive-in story. I wanted to see. This is by Lauren Abati. I'm so bad with pronunciations, but try saying my name. And let's check out hers. Drive-in ceremonies will provide pomp and circumstance for graduating high school seniors. No, I don't want to pay extra for this. Okay, so it's just a story about the drive-ins. I wanted to see if there was any photos. Not yet. There was a graduation done at Oceanside, looks like. And the reason for the drive-in is obviously to help prevent big crowds being together, walking by and on our soccer field. There's the valedictorian, Krista Butler. So congratulations to her down there at Oceanside. One of the best, what's the word I'm looking for? Consolidated school new names, in my opinion. I love it. Oceanside. What makes up Oceanside? Does anybody know what schools formed Oceanside? I kind of know, but I'll give you a prize here. There's two of you watching live, at least on Channel 4 Facebook. Hello, Wendy Dumont. But put your story out there. Put your response. What forms Oceanside? So anyway, that is good stuff. Yesterday, we talked about a skating rink possibly moving here in Fort Kent from its current location over at Jalbert Park to possibly Lonesome Pines. After mentioning a skate park here a couple times in the show, we now have a little steam, some interest on my social media, which is Facebook and Instagram. I'm pretty hip. I started Twitter, but I have not consistently used Twitter, although a lot of people love it. But how about a skate park? Youth, I mean, especially now with COVID and team sports being handcuffed, I've seen people on skateboards around town. They need a place to go. They need a place to work on it. So why not start and create some sort of skate park? A lot of people think skateboarding is dangerous. It can be. Anything can be dangerous. If you don't have a helmet, if you're not doing it safely, it's dangerous. But I know in my mom's home city, the capital of Vermont, Montpelier, Vermont, there's a skate park right at the rec, right downtown within their rec fields, tennis courts. There's a skate park. Wyndham High School down in southern Maine has a skate park right on the grounds of their high school. As you drive into, I believe it's right across from the gym. Excuse me. There's a skate park there. So I don't know. It's an option. So I'm going to try something here real quick. We're going to listen to Travis Sears' next cut as we approach the 7:20 hour here. This is Wake Up SJV. Thanks for joining us. This is Travis Sear from Travis Sear Quarantines, and we're going to listen to Price Tag. And I'm doing multiple things here. It's dangerous. It's like walking and chewing gum. Boom. Here he is, Price Tag, and we're going to create a watch party on Facebook to see if that'll generate some love. Here he is.
Seen that everybody got a price. How to sleep at night. When the sale comes first and two comes second, stop for rated and stop. Why is everybody so serious? Acting so damn mysterious. The shades on your eyes and your heels so high, can't even have a good time. Everybody look to the left. Everybody look to the right. Can you feel that? Gonna be with love tonight. It ain't about the money, money, money. We don't need your money, money, money. Wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. It ain't about the cha-ching, ka-ching. Ain't about that. Bling-a-bling. Wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. See, we ought to take you back in time to when the music made us all unite. It wasn't no balloon, no video, whole lot of only one that's getting tired. Why is everybody obsessed? Money can't buy happiness. But if we all slow it down, I guarantee you right now, it'll all be just fine. Everybody look to the left. Everybody look to the right. You wanna feel that? Gonna pay with love tonight. It's just about the money, money, money. We don't need your money, money, money. Wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. It ain't about the ching, ain't about that. Bling, bling, wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. We don't need your money, money, money. You wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. It ain't about the ching, ain't about the bling, bling. Wanna make the world dance. Forget about the price tag.
Wow, great stuff. That is Travis Sear from Travis Sear Quarantines. And that was Price Tag. I don't know if you know that song, folks, but I do have two young daughters. So I'm going to tell you right now. Oh, sorry. You know what movie that comes from? What do you think, folks? Anybody out there know? It's a great movie. Actually, one of the actresses in that movie is from Maine, from the Portland area. Anybody? We'll wait for your responses. But that's Travis Sear from Travis Sear Quarantines. Great stuff. Coming up here in less than 8 minutes will be Mr. Wayne Anderson. He's the principal over there for the Madawaska Middle High School. So we're going to get his take on how remote learning has gone and what the future holds for education and everything else. I'm the physical education instructor here for grades 9 to 12 at Fort Kent Community High School. And I tell you that because going through my physical activity logs since remote learning began, 10 full weeks of remote learning, 10, count them. And that's not including this week where we're doing a lot of makeup and whatnot. So really 11 weeks that we've gone through this. It's hard to believe, but it is the new reality of what we're dealing with. Skate park, can we do it? The other thing I would love to see, I don't know people out there, if you've had the opportunity to witness equality, just equality. Have you ever been to a farmer's market where you can get fresh produce, flowers, arts, crafts? You can see random dogs, meet with people, socially distanced. Excuse me. Would love to see the farmer's market come back here to the CPL, as the cool kids call it, the church parking lot over here off Main Street in Fort Kent. I count potentially 20 slots. Who's interested? Let's get this going again. Plenty of time to plan, and we could roll it out, every Saturday in August would be nice. A good time as the harvest season rolls around to showcase really small local farms and such. Who's in? Would love to see it. Also, would like to announce that this Friday is the last student day of remote learning here in all of Valley Unified. Valley Rivers Middle School will be showing live on Facebook their 8th grade promotion. You know, you see a lot of signs and a lot of notoriety, and rightfully so, for the class of 2020, the senior class. But what about the 8th graders? Walking through town here recently, I saw a nice poster on a lawn that showcased an 8th grader who is now going to be a freshman. What are they missing out on? 8th grade graduation is always pretty cool here at Valley Rivers Middle School. They do it in the gym in the past, have some great speeches. Families are there celebrating. That's a big milestone to go from 8th grade into high school. So that has now changed. And we see Mr. Anderson is in the waiting room. We're going to bring him in momentarily, get him in a couple of minutes early. But what about those 8th graders? We love them too. I've had the opportunity and the pleasure to coach many of them in soccer, basketball, track and field, and just to see them come up through the educational system. And it's a great milestone for them too. So that's coming up on Friday. We look forward to seeing that on Facebook Live. As we mentioned before on the show, as far as any type of group school-sponsored athletics, there is none. Spring sports canceled. Summer sports on hold until July 6th at the earliest, as far as school-sponsored Valley Unified District sports. We're just going to have to wait. And even on July 6th, you're not going to see any type of 11v11 soccer breakout or anything like that. It's going to be small groups, small pods, temperature checks. Once again, it's the new reality. UMFK and the UMaine system schools will not reopen until July 1st in any fashion, so they're locked down as well. You know, thank goodness it's summertime where people can get outside, because if this was in the middle of winter like it started, it makes it a lot tougher. Although I did more Nordic skiing than Carl Terrio, maybe not. But I did a lot of Nordic skiing on the onset of this, and I highly recommend it next winter. So those are a couple things within our local area that are going on. But folks, let's see if we can bring in Mr. Anderson and get his take on everything that's going on. Get my questions lined up here, and I encourage you to post your questions. Looks like in the watch party, we want to welcome Jill Daigle, Joey Willett, Vanessa Pelletier, Sam Willett, and my college teammate who really kicked my butt my freshman year when he was a senior, South Portland's own Ian Merrill. What's up, Merrill? You're the man. But let's bring in Mr. Anderson here. Admit. Here he comes.
Good morning.
How you doing, Mr.? Good morning, Mr. Anderson. You're live on Wake Up SJV. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Looks like we have the similar hairdo this morning.
Yeah, low maintenance this way.
Love it. I know I haven't paid for a haircut in about 20 years.
I hear that.
So thanks for joining us. Just so you know, this is just a morning show that we stream live locally through the stjohnvalley.live platform, and then it kicks out to some social media sites. So we're just trying to share some love here with the St. John Valley and bring in people like you to, well, quite frankly, make me look better.
You probably picked the wrong candidate for that this morning, Eric.
Mr. Anderson, listen, I know if you're like me, you really, really miss the students. And aside from that obvious change, what are some major changes in your job as principal over there as a result of COVID-19?
Wow, where do you start with that? The most difficult part was, the initial part of this where we were all working from home. That was new for everybody. How do I keep my students engaged? How do I keep my staff engaged? How do I ensure that the learning that's coming to the students has the same integrity and the same level of rigor that we had in the school? How can I convince the parents that that's actually happening? Probably the most remarkable thing about this whole process, because as you know, it was dropped in our laps, and we basically went to our staff and said, hey, you got 48 hours to get it together, and we're going to continue to teach the kids like nothing happened. And they did. I mean, it was remarkable. I mean, and this is across the valley. The teachers didn't miss a beat. They did some things that were just remarkable. The Zoom, the level of technology that was being used, the engagement with the students. I still had students emailing me periodically telling me that they're getting too much homework from the teachers, which was something I was getting when we were here in session. So to that end, there was some normalcy there. So a lot of the things that I was dealing with when I was in the building here, a lot of the concerns and comments were fairly similar in this format of educating. It's not the same as having the kids here. It's not the same as having the staff here. I really miss, bumping shoulders with the kids in the hallway and, giving them a hard time and they're reciprocating as well. Having the staff in here because, there's a camaraderie there. When you work with people for so long, you develop a familial type of relationship with everyone. So, and then you want everyone to be safe. You don't want anybody to get sick. You want everyone to be able to. So you take all of these pieces, and there's so much more out there. We could sit here and spend an hour talking just about this, but you take all of those pieces and try to balance them. And at the end of the day, you look in the mirror and you ask yourself, did I do right by the kids? What could I have done differently? What do I need to do differently tomorrow to maybe make it a little bit better for the kids? And I'll tell you, my impact has been minuscule compared to what my teaching staff and the teaching staff in your school and the teaching staff at Wisdom and the elementary schools, what those people have done is nothing short of remarkable. It really is to be commended.
Yeah, I would agree. Just incredible stuff. Like you said, we were all given, including yourself, about 48 hours notice that we were going to move exclusively remote. So teachers, educators, administrators, staff, everybody, think about the kitchen staff, the custodians, just amazing what we've done, Valley Unified Wide. And Wayne, as you know, this gets kicked into homes, and then we have grandparents, we have siblings, older siblings, we have students that just don't even have that have really taken this on. So as much as our staff has done, talk a little bit about what's kicked into homes and then how families have been able to take this on and adjust, really. I mean, we as you hear a lot of the negative, we also have heard positive and great stories from people able to get through this remote learning.
Oh, listen, I know that, and I'm not being glib or cavalier, but I know that a lot of parents, because they've shared this with me, have a new appreciation for teachers and educators. When they're working with their children and they have 3 or 4 kids or 5 kids or 2 kids or 1 kid, whatever it is, and some of the challenges that they're facing in trying to get them educated, because not everyone is going to be able to teach calculus or pre-calc or advanced science or what have you. And then, they realize that, my gosh, they've got 15, 20, 25 kids in that classroom and they're doing it at the same time. I really expected a lot more pushback from parents. I really expected a lot more pushback from students, but really it's been extremely supportive. The adults, the parents that I've spoken with have had nothing but positive things to say. about the staff and the level of work. And, oh, you know, my son was on the other night, it was 9:30 at night, and he sent his teacher a question, and like 10 minutes later, the teacher gave him, replied. So, you know, they don't turn it off. I mean, they're there for the kids all the time, and the parents appreciate that. I mean, you always have an outlier here and there, and that's to be expected. But the support from the parents and the support from the schools for the parents. You talked about meals. We're at a board meeting earlier this week, and the superintendent shared that, and don't quote the number, but I'm ballpark figure here, that since COVID started in the Valley, we served somewhere in the vicinity of 145,000 meals. I mean, that blows me away. You think about that, 145,000 meals that we're delivering to families in the St. John Valley to ensure that, you know, the kids are being fed, because, and not because parents can't provide, but oftentimes both parents are working. So who's home to possibly, you know, cook the meals or what have you, or you may not have, the older siblings, or so, you know, it's just a remarkable, you know, the overall picture, everything that I look at. I expected it to have a lot more. I expected to hear more negativity, and I'm so pleased that it's not that way at all. Whether I talk to a teacher, or I talk to a parent, or I talk to a student, are they tired? Yeah, everybody's tired. This is extremely challenging. It's extremely stressful, but nobody has a bad word to say about anybody else. And you know, in fact, you know, my teacher is doing this, or the parents are saying the same thing. The teachers are so supportive, or the teachers are saying, you know, I sent an email off to the parent, and that student that wasn't engaged, boys, all of a sudden, you know, they're back online. And it's remarkable how well that this has worked in the small amount of time that we've been able to put everything together.
I would agree. Yeah, well said. And you know what, Mr. Anderson, I really strongly believe, with proficiency-based education and the whole Valley Unified push, that we were pretty close as 3 districts before this. But they say that adversity brings people together even more, and I really believe that. There's now 4 teams formed. I'm going to share, if you don't mind, your website is beautiful, by the way. I'm going to share the screen here. And then if you could talk us through a little bit, Mr. Anderson, on, let me know if you see the screen here. Hold on. Are you there?
Yep, I'm seeing, I see the screen. Yep.
Okay, so this is your website. Very well done. Is there someone who kind of oversees this website, Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, Mr. Vanya, Vincent Vanya, he's our
of course.
Director, and yeah. Vince is really good about making sure that, you know, the information is pretty accurate. Some of this stuff I have access to, but Vince keeps a tight rein on it. He doesn't want the building principal to go in there and monkey it up and make problems for him. So
it's great. I'm going to share the reintegration to school planning process now. Before you came on this morning, we talked a little bit about an article in the Bangor Daily saying roughly that there is no plan in place yet for schools, main schools, but we do have one here. And of course, that is very fluid, but we do at least have a process here. So talk us through it here a little bit, Mr. Anderson. Let me know if you want me to click on any of this, but if you click down here, hold on a second. I want to open up this document. Here we go. And I'm a little slow.
That's okay.
Okay, here it is. And this is a PDF that you can get, fans, out online on Madawaska School Department, or here in the District 27. Also on the website at SAD 33. So go ahead, Mr. Anderson, take us through this a little bit, and just let me know if you want me to scroll.
Sure. You know, you can scroll down to where the reintegration teams are listed, and basically what that's all about is the superintendent has developed a group of teams to break out and look at different aspects of educating students. Health and wellness, the restoration of instruction, school sites, facilities and transportation. You can read everything here on the screen. And the purpose was for all of these individuals to get together and look at all of the different options and possible problems we would run into in trying to reintegrate back into school. So we're looking at trying to ensure that as we get closer and closer to September, that we're going to have a plan in place that's going to allow us to be able to meet the needs of the students. While we're doing that, we have to also remember that as effective as the distance learning, the remote learning has been, this spring, we still didn't get to everything that we wanted to get to. So we need to look at some of these students who struggled. Part of it is because of technology. They didn't have access to the internet as well as others did. And part of it is, quite frankly, not everybody does well on a distance learning format. For some students, they really need to be sitting in the classroom in front of the teacher, so they have that direct one-on-one. And as much as a Zoom meeting will do that for them, again, if they're having technological issues because their internet is extremely weak, some of those things don't happen. So we have to make sure that we grab a hold of those students, find out where they are, where we left them, where we need to get them, and then what kind of a plan are we going to put in place to be able to get them to where we want them to go. And then we look at what are we going to do at the end of the summer and when we start school. So we had a meeting here, a school committee meeting here on Monday, and the Madawaska School Department voted to push the calendar back to September 2nd, I believe it is, or September 1st for school to start, as opposed to the 20th or so when we normally would start in August. The governor's plan right now is still 50 people in a setting, and that runs through the end of August. So we're hoping that maybe when we hit September, that might change. Either way, it provides us a couple of more weeks leeway. We've already met with the farmers and explained what we're doing with them. We're going to indicated to the farmers that the students who need to leave to go and harvest, we're going to allow that. And especially now with the remote learning plan that we have in place, and we're still tweaking, if you will, it's going to be a lot easier for those students who do step out to be able to at times, take a peek back and look in and try to keep on top of things a little bit, if you will, as opposed to, the way we used to do it in the past. If a student left, you closed the book, they left and they were gone until they came back. There was no academics, there was nothing. So now we're trying to decide, are we all coming back? So when we say, the state says that there are no plans, I would beg to differ. The superintendent and his team have been remarkable at punching the envelope and really looking at things long term. And so if we all come back into the classroom, we've got a plan in place for that. If that doesn't work, we're looking at maybe 50%. Maybe we do cohorts. So you might have half the kids in for 2 weeks while the other half are still streaming online, because the teachers would hopefully be in their classrooms live streaming. So they'd have a group of students in the classroom who are, separated 6 feet by 6 feet, which is, reduces the size of your classes. They would be in for 2 weeks, while the remaining class would be at home online at the same time, following the same schedule for 2 weeks. Then 2 weeks down the road, we would just flip it. And then those kids who were out will come in, and the kids who were in would come out. Now, what's important about that is if this works, if we have to go this route, we're going to try to make sure that the students who we know are going to probably be part of the potato harvest, we'll make sure that they're coming in on the first 2 weeks schedule. So that way when they go out for the 2 weeks and they're doing the remote part of it, it's easier for them to be able to get into the fields and work with the farmers, because that's not the time that they're relegated to the classroom. If that doesn't go and we have to go to a 100% distance learning program, then we're going to have to do it a little bit different than we're doing it right now. We could do something where we may have teachers within the classroom who are streaming live for the school schedule through the course of the day, and the students are online that way. It's I'll say, like you said, it's so fluid right now. It changes here from day to day to day, but I'm very, very comfortable with the three options that we have, and knowing that those are very dynamic. They're going to change. We're going to have to tweak them and adjust them as we go. But I'm very comfortable knowing that whatever comes down the pike in September, we've got something in place that we're going to be able to meet the needs of the students, and we're going to be able to get them a good education and keep everybody safe in the process.
Yeah, it's quite an extensive plan. And the first time I viewed it, I was just taken aback. I was very impressed. Some questions for you, Mr. Anderson, as we focus on recalibration. Okay, the yellow arrow here, August 20th to October 4th. You mentioned the potential to start roughly after Labor Day, and 100% is one of the models. But I think a lot of people statewide and really nationwide have discussed 50% or less. So let's say it is something like that. For example, we have a bus here in District 27 that goes all the way deep into the Allagash and is packed with about 75 students. There's no way that'll happen, in my opinion. But anyway, you mentioned something that I'd like to ask you. The students that come in under the 50% model and they're 2 weeks at a time, have you guys discussed, maybe going Monday, Wednesday, Friday with a group and Tuesday, Thursday? That way these students are seeing teachers face to face at least weekly, as opposed to being gone for 2 weeks total. Was that discussed?
There are a variety of scenarios that were talked about. There's nothing in stone. Right now, the reason that we're looking at the 2 week cohorts is because it reduces the amount of exposure to a variety of different students within the classroom, within the teachers. It locks it into a group of kids for 2 weeks, and then it locks it into another group of kids for 2 weeks. The nurse is going to be in here. There'll be a station set up as kids come in so that they'll be checked, they'll be screened for temperature. There'll be some specific questions that are asked. We've got places that we've developed as we put an atrium into the building, so that if we have somebody who we suspect is ill, we can move them off to an isolated area and have the parents pick them up.
So I understand. So sorry to interrupt you, but this is more of a, and it makes sense as I talk this through with you. So this is more of a safety precaution, meaning 14-day type quarantine. So you go 2 weeks with a group and you make sure they're together and safe. So yeah, I understand. So then you bring another group back and
yeah, exactly. And in fact, we operate right now on an OWLS schedule, which is an 8-block rotation and a 6-block day. But that means that kids are transitioning in the hallways very, 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 very often. So I've built another schedule that's a block schedule, if you will, where we're going to go at where we could go back to a blue day and a white day. And the advantage to this is you're going to reduce the amount of time that students are going to be in the hallways out of the common areas, because they're only going to move once in the morning. We're still working on how lunch is going to work out because the state's saying we can't use the cafeterias, because if we do, they've got to be disinfected between groups of kids coming in. So we're still working on that piece. One of the advantages that the 80 or 85-minute block is going to give you, especially if, and it's going to be a big push on my part with my staff, especially if we looked at flipped classrooms, where the teachers are actually recording their lessons, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. They're recording the lessons and providing them to the students so that the students can view those in advance. Then when they come into that classroom, everything that they're doing there at that point is going to be guided practice, supports, advancing those advanced students, taking the students who are struggling and trying to bring them and get them up to speed. But we won't be taking, the plan is not to, and for lack of a better term, not waste, but not to use a lot of that time as stand and deliver, if you will, because we can get that done in a flipped classroom format, but to be able to take that time and work individually with those kids or with those pockets of kids, those groups of kids that are at the same level of learning, and really advance them or get them caught up and reinforce those concepts and those standards that we're looking at. And like I said, we always hear the complaint or the concern that, it's really hard to get kids to do homework. When they leave school, they work pretty good in school, but they don't do a lot of work when they get home. Well, if you've got a block of time, such as a block scheduling provides you 80 or 85 minutes, and you're going to do a flipped classroom, then there's absolutely no reason why you can't have guided practice and guided instruction within the classroom at that time, so that an educator can watch the kids and make a determination as to, yeah, they're getting it, or they're missing this, or they're missing that. Then if you need to do a little mini lesson during that time period, you can do that. And then if you still need to give homework, you don't have to give that, well, okay, do chapter 2, page 50, 1 to 50, just the even numbers. You may only give 2 or 3 assignments, 2 or 3 little projects, 2 or 3 samples that they may have to work on, just to reinforce the idea that, okay, yeah, they're getting it. I just want to make sure. So, I think on paper, if you will, and the way I'm looking at it right now, if everything falls into place the way I would like to, I think it can be pretty effective.
Great stuff. Just incredible to hear the insight. It is 7:50 here a.m. This is Wake Up SJV. We are speaking with the principal at Madawaska Middle High School, Mr. Wayne Anderson. Wayne, 2 questions that I've personally asked a lot of people in education here throughout the 4 weeks of this show. And just talking with you today, we're getting a lot of insight on this, and you don't have to answer this, you just did, but the 2 questions have been, will education ever be the same? And I think we know the answer there. And how will it look in the fall? And we're starting to get a great picture of that. And to know that we have options is great. I mean, now we all have these, myself, for example, I'm a phys ed teacher. I have these great resources now, online, virtual technology, thinking outside the box, great conversations with the main DOE meetings on Zoom. We're going to go through workshops here after graduation for I think a week and a half. So, but amazing stuff. Tell us, Mr. Anderson, 2 things. How is your graduation going to look, and what are you guys doing for your 8th graders as well?
So we're trying to run our graduation as closely to what we would normally do as we can. We've got 39 graduates. So we can, with the staff I need to use, stay under the 50 rule, if you will. So in fact, it starts today. And in fact, the kids are going to start coming in about a half an hour or so. And we're going to screen them, and we're going to run the ceremony the same way we would normally run it, but obviously without the parents. But they're going to have their procession walking in with pomp and circumstance. They're going to have all of their awards handed out. The valedictorian, the salutatorian, the honor essayists are going to give their speeches. The class president is going to give her speech. There's a video that the senior class presented that will be attached to all of this. And then they'll have their walkout, and I've got a couple of surprises up my sleeve that I haven't shared with the students yet, so I don't want to share here either. But then we're going to go to the Skylight Drive-In, and Gary and Donna Pelletier, bless their hearts. I called and I asked them, I said, is there any chance at all that we might be able to rent, your facility so that we could, show this production, the commencement exercises at your facility? And they said, oh, there's no charge. Absolutely. We'll do that for you guys.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. The only thing that they asked was that we cap it at 200 vehicles so that we can ensure when they're in there that, we're spacing people. We've already put out invitations to the parents and the students and the locals here that need to come, and made them very, very clear that, what we need to do to adhere to the COVID requirements that the governor has put out. Same thing when we're doing the graduation here. The students will be, 6 by 6 and, separated, as everyone will be wearing masks. And the school nurse was able to find these really cool, I might even have one here.
Oh, those are awesome.
Yeah, it's a blue mask, and it has the blue M on it for Madawaska. So
those are sharp. Those are
yeah,
sharp.
so they'll all be wearing that. We'll go through the awards. We'll go through the conferring of the diplomas. The superintendent will be there. So once that's done, we'll have everything. Colin Gendro is the one who's editing all of that for us. He's gone and he's found some canned applause, if you will, that we're going to be able to, dub in there. So as we're recognizing the students and so on and so forth. And then 8:30 on the 11th, which is Thursday of next week, we're going to run the whole thing at the Skylight Theater, where they'll be able to watch the entire commencement exercise. And it's going to look pretty close to the real deal, with the exception of having people in the audience. But we're working on camera angles and such so that it would not, you wouldn't see the people that were in the audience anyway. So I think it's going to come off okay. I think it's going to look good. I've got a good group of individuals, Jenny Bechard and Lynn Wetmore and April Layton are working on this. And so I kind of just stand back a little bit and I let them do their thing. They're very, very accomplished. And I'm expecting a really nice scenario. Once we get that done, then we want to do something similar with the 8th graders. Not necessarily something where we're going to have something at the drive-in, but where we're able still to be able to recognize them, because I've only got, let me double check here to be sure. Yeah, I've got 30 8th graders. So I can have them in and still have a ceremony where we're able to give them their diplomas and move them up and have that recorded and then push that out on our YouTube channel and on channel 16 so that the moms and the dads and the memes and the papes and the Minoks and the Matowns and their cousins and what have you, we'll all have a chance to be able to see that and record it as well. Oh, and the other piece I wanted to mention on the graduation, we've procured a bunch of pen drives for the kids, so they don't know it yet, but we're going to record that whole commencement exercise. Will be put on pen drives and then give it to the students so that they'll have that. So they'll be able to show it at
Exceptional.
home.
Just amazing stuff, Mr. Anderson. Yep. And so your actual ceremony, did I hear that right? The actual ceremony is going to be filmed today. Is that correct?
It'll be filmed on Friday. Today is we're working with the kids. Tomorrow we're working with the kids. And on Friday, it's a full dress rehearsal. We're going to run through the entire piece. The superintendent will be here. We'll do the conferring of the diplomas, all the pictures, all the shots, all the awards, all the speeches. Everything will be done on Friday. Colin's going to work on dubbing that and getting it all together over the weekend. Monday following, we're looking at sitting down to view it, make sure everything is good. And then by Tuesday afternoon, we have to get it to Austin at the theater so that he can make sure that it's prepped. It'll probably be in an MP4 format, which will be fine, but I'm sure they're going to want to go through it and make sure that there are no hiccups or what have you before they push it out on their big screen. So, my people have got a really good plan in place. So I'm just going to stand back and watch them do their thing. And I know it's going to turn out great. I do.
Well, listen, they say in sports that a coach is only as good as his team. You know what I meant. So you've got a great team over there. We have an exceptional team here within Valley Unified Schools. I want to thank you for joining us. Before I let you go, we've been featuring we've been featuring local artists throughout Aroostook County. Do you have a favorite local artist? Today, we've been listening to Travis Sear Quarantines. Do you have a favorite local band or musician?
No, I like Travis and I forget the name of the band, but my gosh, Officer Pelletier here in Madawaska, Jamie.
Okay. Yep.
He plays with a group of guys, and I think Steve Doucette is part of that as well, and they make some pretty good music as well. So
would that be Revolver?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we listened to that. We listened to them a little bit yesterday. So listen, Mr. Anderson, I hope your family's doing great. We wish you nothing but the luck with the graduation. And as we continue to plan for the future, we're glad that you're on our team.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on. This was, I really enjoyed this.
Yes, very educational. And a lot of people watch this archive too. So just great stuff. Thank you for your time and for sharing.
Okay. Take care, everybody. Be safe.
Take care, Mr. Anderson. So that was Mr. Wayne Anderson from Madawaska Schools. And just great to hear what's going on over there. We are approaching the 8 a.m. hour. I want to thank Mr. Anderson for coming in, and also want to alert you that tomorrow we'll keep on rolling, tomorrow and Friday. Mr. Anderson's still here. Sorry, Mr. Anderson. I'm trying to find a way to.
That's okay. I'm on my way out. I've got to go work with the seniors as they're coming in here. So wish us luck, and